Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Soccer Queens podcast. Today, I have a repeat guest and actually a fan favorite, and many requests for this man to come back on. So, Don Williams is back. We are going to talk about getting seen for college recruiting. And, Don, I know a lot of people know your work and what you do. But for those who are new today, if you can just give a 30-second elevator pitch on who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so myself, I'm a former college coach. I coached for 22 years at the college and the short stint at the pro level. Coached at five different divisions in the country at the senior level. And then in 2018, left the world of college coaching and got into running college agency and placement. So now we've got I don't know, 3, 4, 500 years of combined college coaching experience between all of our staff. And it runs everything from in the U.S. National Team Hall of Fame, like guys like Bruce Murray, all the way down to guys that have coached at every different level in the country, including national championship level. So we're just a group of guys trying to help, and gals trying to help kids and families navigate this whole complicated world of college recruiting.
Awesome. And yes, it is complicated, but what you do is you really simplify it, and you're really here to help inform people on the process and what is right and what scammers to look out for, because there's a lot of information out there on recruiting. So I'm going to just start off by throwing a little bit of a curveball. So I got recruited at a high school soccer game. So the Johns Hopkins coach, he saw me at the Jefferson Cup, but then the only other time he saw me was at our high school Maryland State Championship. And that was the game where he was like, yep, we're recruiting this girl. My question is, would that happen today?
Uh, yeah, your exact situation I could see happening today. Look, you were at a local school, relatively local. It wasn't that much money for him to come out and see your high school game. He had already seen you play once. Just wanted to get a second look. Just wanted to get a second idea. So he took time out of his way to come in and see a player that he thought maybe would make a difference for him, that matched his academics, that matched the finances. Everything seemed to align. He was just making sure you were the right player and was using that as a second look. Yes, I could see that happening today. Could I see University of could I see Florida State University coming up to Maryland to see your high school game? No, I couldn't see that happening. Um, could I see a player at a high school team randomly being like, "Oh my goodness, look at this player," from a coach who would just happen to be sitting in the stands? Not likely. Not likely, because the world of college recruiting for coaches, from a coaching standpoint, is about, I've got to get through these 5,000 players that have been contacting me and emailing me. We're trying to sort all the time. We're going yes, no, maybe, yes, no, maybe, yes, no, maybe, as fast as we can. If it's a yes, that's fantastic. Every player will know it because that coach will be in touch and say, we want to learn more about you. We're very interested, just like John Hopkins did to you. Okay. If it's a no, it's a no. And you may not hear anything. People say, oh, I'm being ghosted by a coach. Not really. You're just, look, they've got too many to go through. You're one of 500,000. They are one of 1,600, right? Easier for the 500,000 to reach out to the 1,600 than it is for the 1,600 to reach out to the 500,000. And then it's categorizing, and it's where do we see this player fall on our things. So that's a good one. Could it happen today? Yes, but it would probably happen exactly like it happened to you if it happened. And don't expect Cal Berkeley to come to Maryland to see your high school game. It's not going to happen.
I love that. Now, my next question is, so let's just talk about like top 25 Division 1 programs. I want to get super niche with this episode, but a lot of young soccer players want to play in the top 25. Does being on ECNL matter? Is that a non-negotiable if you want to play for one of those teams?
Not to any coach who has any brains in his head. No. Uh, Look, where Why ECNL is popular, why the GA is becoming popular, is because it allows us to see players of a certain standard all in the same place in the same weekend. Okay, so it allows that to happen. Um, Not that we don't want that EDP player who's only playing EDP, Eastern upper level, or out in California, we have these the National League, the MPL. Not that we don't want those kids, not that we don't think those kids can't compete, but when I go to those events, I might see 5 players of my quality if I'm top 25 Division One, where if I go to ECNL, there might be 40 players of that quality. So it's just simply, how do I stretch my athletic budget? How do we make this work? How do we stretch our staff? Realizing that we have families, we have lives, we have children. We want to see our kids play on Saturday. We want to be home with our families. We've got yard work to do, just like everybody else. But yet we only have a certain number of weekends of year that we can do this thing, because we have this thing called a season. So August through November, we're focusing on not losing our jobs. We're focusing on trying to win games. Focusing on trying to build our program. And then we've got administrators, and sometimes we have classes to teach. And we've got this whole other world that isn't just going and seeing players. ECNL GA allows us to identify ahead of time a large number of players that we want to go see, and then to go see them all in the same event weekend. So that's why it's popular. Thoroughly understand it. Look, I still chase events. I still chase events because when I go to MLS Next, I've got 9 boys playing in it. When I go to ECNL, I've got 12 girls playing in it. When I go to GA, I've got 8 girls playing in it. So, I understand how this works. Is it a non-negotiable? Yes, for the lazy coaches that are typically around 500 wins or less, they only recruit ECNL players. That's completely silly. There are girls that are not playing ECNL that are playing in other countries, that are playing in other parts of this country, and it's a freaking big country. A lot of kids playing in a lot of corners. But does it make sense for me as a coach of Notre Dame to fly to Eastern Oregon, to go to LaGrange to go see a player that I heard about, and it's only one player, and I'm going to spend $6,000 to go take my staff and go see this player that I may or may not even think is a fit? That makes no sense.
Mhm.
That makes no sense. So does that explain? I hope that explains, or is that rambling? I don't know.
Yeah, it definitely answers my question. Now, with the players who aren't ECNL or GA and they don't go to these showcases where these Division One college coaches go, would the best option for them to get seen is ID camps and video?
Yeah, if Muhammad won't, the mountain won't come to Muhammad, then Muhammad has to go to the mountain.
Mhm.
You've got to figure out how to get in front of these coaches. Uh, Local is easy and fairly cost efficient, but how would I do it? Somehow that coach has to see your video and get you on the phone. So something's got to interest that coach if you don't want to just walk into a camp as one of 75, 85, 150, 500 kids, depends on the camp, right? You walk into the Stanford camp in June, July, and you may find 250, 300 kids there. And now you're trying to stand out in this mass of, I don't know these players. I don't know who I'm getting stacked with. I don't know how they operate. I don't even know their names. I can't operate at my full efficiency because I don't know what to do. I don't know what I'm supposed to be showing or not showing. So the best success that we have with going to ID camps is with our players who have been introduced to coaches. Coach likes the player, coach has met the player, coach has talked to the player, coach has met the family. Things seem to be aligning. Now it's, look, if they can come to this camp, we're having a special camp with 40 kids only, and it's a fairly inexpensive camp, $75, $100, that type of thing. And the player can go in and truly get their final tryout with a group of pre-selected players. Those types of camps exist at almost every single university across the country. They're open to everybody, but they just fill very quickly with these players that have been pre-selected. And sure enough, the general public that wants to try to get to this camp can't get in because they're full. It's a small, limited number of camps. So there's NCAA rules about you can't have invite-only camps. They have to be open to the general public. But there's college coaches around the country that are working their way around that all the time by designing special camps, alerting certain kids that you need to register at 12:01 a.m. on Sunday morning. And, by Monday morning, the camp is full by the time the general public knows about it. That kind of stuff is really what you want to work with the camps. Now, remember, your question was about the top, let's call it 75 schools in the country. So there's 400 and something women's schools. Let's call it top 100. Let's call it the top 25% of the schools, because there's big names in that top 25%. Huge names, the ones that we all know the names of, but yet they're not in the top 25 that particular year, or they're in and out of that. We're talking about the schools that might make the tournament every year. Might win the first round, might not. Because I think we talked about this in the other podcast, Erica. You've got I don't know, what is it? 8 schools, if I look it up, 7 schools that have won a Division I national title over the last 30 years. That's the elite. That's the elite. Then you've got another group of chasing that pack, and then you've got another pack chasing that pack, and then you've got another pack chasing that pack, all the way down to the schools that don't stand a snowball's chance in hell of ever even making a tournament or sniffing it, ever. And they never have in the past. What makes you think things are going to change now type of schools? And you get the occasional school that breaks that mold for a year or two, but then typically when you look at their record 3 years later, they're back to where they were. They just had a great class for whatever reason. Trying to get those coaches' attention, Erica, is of the top 25% of the Division I is not an easy task. When you just do the math, you realize that's 800 kids out of 500,000. That's 800 out of 500,000. And those coaches have the resources to search the world. They have the resources. Coach just came back from Iceland. I was just talking to him. Coach just came back from Sweden. I saw another picture of top Division I coach who's walking out of the Man United training facility is Bobby Namus at Wake Forest. And he said, deal done. I'm assuming he just picked up a reserves player who's getting released from Manchester United. I'm assuming that's what he meant. Got those resources. So now our American kids, our Canadian kids, have to compete with that.
Wow. It's when you put it that way and really break down the numbers, it's pretty crazy. The chance is just, it's so meager. And like you said, it's just so hard to really get their attention. So let's just come back to the ID camps, because when I worked at Johns Hopkins and helped at their ID camps, it was always interesting because we would have 80 to 100 girls every camp. And this is a Division III school, top in their conference almost every year. And out of those 80 to 100 girls, us coaches who were evaluating, we thought 2, maybe 3 players who attended were actually standouts and who we'd actually want to recruit. So when you put the numbers at a Division III school like that too, and who's actually getting our attention, it's also super small. So how do players go about choosing ID camps and making it worth their while? Because a lot of girls came to Hopkins, they're like, well, this is our backup to Division I. And, overhearing that as a coach who's evaluating you,
Right.
probably not the best thing. But a lot of people just go to go. And it's like, well, at that point, it's a waste of time and money for you if this is your backup or you're just trying it out. So how do people narrow down what camps to go to? Because I don't think ID camps existed when I was growing up. So I don't know what's like from the players' end.
They did not. No, when I started in the 90s coaching in college, we would hold camps, but they were community camps. They were just like all the kids from our local communities would come in and they'd all plop down $50 and 200 kids would show up in the day, and we'd split them up and we'd teach them things. We'd teach them soccer stuff that they weren't learning about at a club. And I remember the first camp we did, we brought in like Cal Berkeley, and we brought in maybe Menlo, and I think maybe Dominican was there. Schools that were not in our conference. We weren't inviting conference schools in, but we all had our own lane of the types of kids we were looking for, and we would invite these kids. And it was the first time that I had ever we had really ever done this concept, and it took off, and it started taking off at the same time all throughout the country. And this was in the 2010s, and it
Mhm.
started taking off all throughout the country 15 years ago. And so um, now everybody does it. Now junior colleges in the middle of Alaska are going, we're going to hold a college ID camp. And then some kids are showing up and paying money for this thing. Um, Now there are friends of ours that you and I both know that are running very small NAIA, very small Division III programs that are not on the Johns Hopkins academic level and are located in Kansas or Missouri or wherever. And they really need players. My son coaches at a small school called Beloit in Wisconsin. And look, he's got a search. He's really got a search. And so he is working these uh, ID camps. He's walking home with, $750. That helps. And then he's looking at players and identifying them and recruiting them. But it's a very small Division III school in Wisconsin. And it's not like a big name that really most people in the country have heard of, like John Hopkins or MIT or Vassar or wherever. And so they are using these camps. Yes, they are using these. And if that's what your goal is, to attract those types of coaches, then these camps that have, 35 coaches at them, run by a third party, and cost you 350 to 400, $500 to go to, you really can get identified by those schools. But I just need everybody to understand that if, Wake Forest is there, or if Clemson is there, or if Duke is there, or if whoever, Stanford is there, or look, probably their fourth assistant who doesn't get paid anything. They might be a volunteer assistant. I've even know schools that have sent a senior to go to the camp as representation for the school. Why? Because they get paid. They get paid $1,500 to go for the 2 days if it's a big name. The bigger the name, the more they get paid to come to the camp, because the more kids want to go to that school. They think they're getting noticed. If you really think that you're going to get noticed at this camp, you're crazy, because the quality of the players at this, take the Johns Hopkins camp. Even those two or three girls, don't you guys as a staff wonder how they will do against your bigger, better, stronger badasses?
Oh, 100%. It was very hard to pick out those 2 to 3 girls. There were some camps, Dawn, especially in the summer when girls would come out for a week. It was about 100 girls. Some camps, I didn't like any of the players. I didn't think they were a fit for the program, or as good as our current freshmen or our seniors, and I just couldn't see them. And some camps, we just didn't make a decision. It's that competitive.
It's that competitive. And so what
Yeah.
happens at these exact camps, Erica, is that, so okay, if I like these three kids at this big general camp, the next step is going to be, yeah, I want to bring them into my campus, to my camp, with a select 30 or 40 kids that we're going to select our last 6 or 7 players out of. I want to see how they all stack up. And at the Division III level, at the Division II level, at the NAIA level, we can throw our players in, because we can have them be coaches of the camp, and we can have them go out and scrimmage against these kids, and we can separate these kids into, all right, those 11 play against these 11, and then you rest of you guys, go over here, we'll teach you something because you're not very good. And we can do that. We can separate this stuff out. Division I, it sort of can be done, but it's not the same. It's not as easy. Not No, you can't bring your whole team out there, but you can do that at Division II. You can have tryouts at Division II. You can have tryouts at Division III. You can have tryouts at NAIA, where you bring your team in on a spring game, and then you can bring these, or spring training, and you can bring these guys to train and interact with your team and do 1v1s and 2v2s and 4v4s and 5v5s of these players against your players, and see how they really stack up and match. Division I's much more difficult. You can't do that. There's rules. And
I
because
so
there's
I
a
have a
lot of money at stake.
quick question about the camps again. So, do you think it's most worth a player's while to go to a camp where they had already had previous conversation with the coach and the coach has maybe already seen them play, as opposed to going into a camp as a total stranger and just another number out there.
Yes, the first, the more than the second, sure, 100%. But I emailed all of the coaches before I went to the camp. Yes, so did the other 400 kids. I get that, and it's really hard to get through those emails. Um, but I introduced myself to them. But I said, okay, but did you stand out? Because you have to stand out. Like you have to. Ooh, diving header. Don't see that often. Holy crap! Look at that speed. Look at her vertical. Oh my God! Look at her hover. That's amazing. Uh, Look at that shot. Oh, what a laser. Holy crap. She did it with her left too. Oh crap, she's two-footed. This is interesting. If that's not happening, if it's, oh, good pass. Oh, nice possession. Oh, good little move. Yeah, she did a Cruyff. Oh, that's cool. It's like, okay, so did every other girl at the camp. So where do you stand out? So the standing out really should be done going into the camp, not at the camp. The camp is a chance to prove yourself. And this is just human. This is what a human eye can do. This is what a human brain can do, is all we're talking about. How do you properly evaluate a player? You stare at that player, you focus that player, you're making notes. You go, oh, does check runs. Oh, has change of pace. Oh, good in that tight space. Oh, look at her positioning. Look at her spacing in the back four. Listen to her organize. Listen to them mark. Listen to that. How they talk about marking, how they communicate with their players, how they interact with their team. That takes studying. That's not just stuff that stands out. You got to study that. So if I'm studying one human being and out of 22 that are playing in a match, I'm studying that one human being. It means I'm going to miss the positioning of the center back on the other team. I'm going to miss the positioning of the goalkeeper on the other team because I'm staring at this. I have been at games where I was looking at matches with coaching staff and we're staring at the center back and the goalkeeper and trying to figure out what's going on here. And we missed the goal at the other end of the field. In the game we were watching, we missed the goal. Why? I was seeing, did the center back push the player up? What's their counter-attacking position? Where do they sit? How do they organize? I'm watching that stuff and I'm listening and tuning in, and I'm not even really paying attention to the kid who just scored a bicycle kick. And everybody goes, "Oh my God, did you see that?" And I go, "No, I didn't. Was it good? Yeah, okay." Or I'm turning and talking, or I'm taking notes, I'm looking down, I'm studying, I'm doing my job to get that center back that I need. I'm not that worried about what the eight did on the other team. I'm not that, unless they're going head to head with my center back, then I'm paying attention. Oh, she just burned my center back 7 times. I like this kid. Um, that kind of stuff. So, very difficult to stand out. So the standout part has to be to get the coaches to stare at you for half an hour while you play. And then you have to do something then it's so interesting that goes, I'm going to stare at this kid for another half an hour. I'm going to make sure that I don't miss something because I'm only looking for 6 to 8 players in any given year.
I'm glad we're taking the conversation this way because a lot of players will go to an ID camp and they're like, "Oh my gosh, like I scored a great goal." And it's like, "Well, what else did you do?" And it's more than just those highlights that you talk about and how you play the game. And this also applies to the video footage as well that they're submitting. So, what should they include in the video footage to stand out? What
The
aspects
first
of the game?
Great question. Great question. So the first thing I say, there's an old joke. It's like, how do you make another human being remember where you are, what your face looks like, what they had, where they were coming from, what part of the city they were in, everything about the meeting? How do you make them forget? You walk up, you introduce yourself, shake them hands, and punch them in the nose and walk away. They'll go, "What the hell? Where did that come from? That was unbelievable. You punch me in the nose? What the?" They'll never forget anything about you. You need to do that with video. I just watched a video yesterday, and the really good goals, the amazing stuff was buried 2 minutes and 45 seconds into the video. The opening sequences were very mundane, very boring. Very 5 yard pass, 12 yard pass, little turn in possession, little. It's like, okay, she keeps the ball. That's great. I think I've got 13-year-olds that can also keep the ball in that situation under that kind of pressure. It's nothing remarkable about it. And then all of a sudden, banger, 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 banger. Oh, okay, the kid can play, but it's buried in the video. What are you doing? And then some of the video, another one I looked at yesterday, um, the conversation with the adult that I was speaking with was like, yeah, that was when she was 13. That was when she was 14. She's still struggling. It's like, why is this in the best of your best? Remember, so a highlight video tells a coach, this is the best of the best that I've ever done and captured on film, ever in my history of a player. This is the best of my best. This is me at the peak of my game that we caught on video. That's what this is. This is who I am. And I'm very proud of this video. This represents me very accurately as a player at my very, very best. Because you're trying to get these coaches to take that, think of it as a movie trailer, and you're trying to get them to spend money, time, energy into watching the full movie, into digging into you, except it's worse because it's probably from first time I ever hear about you to the day that you are stepping on my campus, I probably put 100 hours into you. Every single player, 800 hours into 8 players. Me and my staff, our staff has put into you, not as a head coach, but me and my staff have put into you. And that video is trying to get them to invest 100 hours into you. Is it exciting? Is it good? Does it represent all aspects of the game? So when I look at a video, and I don't care what position you have, even as a goalkeeper, there probably should be a header in there. You probably should have come out of your box at some point in your career, and you probably had to head the ball because you couldn't grab it with your hands. But certainly for the field players, so common things that are missing: hard tackles, speedy recovery runs, recovering to the right places, headers, passes of all distances. And here's a problem I have with youth soccer today: it doesn't accurately represent what's going to happen at the next level. When you watch the women's professional league or the men's professional league, or we watch higher level college soccer, you will see 50, 60, 70-yard balls to target. It's like, oh, beautiful long ball, tore their back line apart. Because the idea in soccer is that we break lines, right? We have to break their forward line, and we have to break their midfield line, and we have to break their back line, then we have to break the goalkeeper line in order to penetrate the goal. That's the concept. And then we're trying to be organized enough to stop them from doing that same thing. And so everything, the trend we're seeing is play short out of the back, play short out of the back. We couldn't even get across midfield. They stole the ball, shoved it back down our net, and we go do it again. Play short out of the back, play short out of the back. We couldn't cross midfield. We give it away. They shove it right back down our throat. And this is over and over and over again. It's like your team can't even cross midfield, folks. How are you going to score a goal if you can't cross midfield? And so finding players that can play textures of balls, balls that backspin and drop and control themselves behind the back line so our winger can come onto it and play that ball one touch and cross it into the box. Balls that have the right speed to feet at the right time to the right foot. Are you playing the front foot or the back foot of the player? Are you allowing him to go forward, or are you allowing him to go back? Does the ball get there with enough speed that it allows that player time and space, or is it so slow the defenders could close? Can you do that with both feet? Can you receive with both feet? Can you open up with both feet? That stuff sounds obvious. Of course I want that in there, but it's missing. It's missing from video. It's very boring. It's very mundane. Like I say, the headers, the rocket, the laser shots, the ball that you can hit on a drive, not just a floated ball. You know, this climbs high, drops slowly. It's very easy for a defender to climb over the back and to bang it back at you. It's not going to help us keep possession. But balls driven to targets at various heights and distances, and then the textures of the balls, like I say, the back spinning balls, the ball that has the bend when it needs to have the bend, not because you don't know how to hit a ball, but some players always hit a bending ball. They don't know how to hit a straight ball, or a ball with backspin, or a ball that's knuckling. They don't know how. They're not technical enough. So every ball has a bend. Well, that's great if you're playing the ball with your right foot to the right side, but if I'm playing it with my right foot to the left side, it's bending out of bounds, folks. That's slowing down play. It makes our winger has to stop and wait for the ball, which means the defense can cover, they can recover, they can close down the space that you thought you saw because you played the wrong ball. That's missing from video. Why? Because most players can't do it. I'm going to remind everybody only 9.5% of the girls, there's only 9,000 or so openings for the girls' side and only 8,000 openings for the guys' side. Yet there's 500,000 kids all raising their hand going, I want to play college soccer. You're not all good enough. You're not all good enough to play in college. You're not. Women's side, slightly different, but then you've got to be willing to go to the mountains of West Virginia and play NAIA soccer. And it's like, oh, I don't want to do that. Well, okay, then fine. Don't then fine. Then just go to UCLA, enroll in classes, and play club soccer. That's okay too. No shame in that. It's okay. But stop thinking that everybody's going to get to play at that top 50 Division One.
That was so helpful. And a lot of people don't think about the actual content of the video and the multitude of things that you really need to showcase.
Clearly,
Now,
Erica, they don't think about it clearly because it's not very
there's
good.
another thing they don't think about, and you tweeted about this, and it, for some reason, I don't know why, Tom, but it triggered a lot of people. You might know what I'm talking about, but it was your tweet about how people can't edit videos, um, and the actual functionality of the video, and you don't want to wait for a video link to load or the quality is bad. So that's another piece that people don't think about, which is important because, again, we're fighting for coaches' attention and they're not going to want to sit there and wait for a video to load. I'm sorry, it's 2022. So let's go into that. Why is the editing and the functionality of your videos important? And
Yeah.
why were
Well,
people triggered by that?
yeah, it's really weird. They think that we are lazy as college coaches because, well, if the coach doesn't want to download my video, then they're a terrible coach. Well, one of my buddies said, he goes, yeah, I'm not really into downloading stuff onto my computer from people I don't know. Okay, how valid is that in today day and age? I don't know how. Somehow everything's slipping through my spam right now. Everything is slipping through my spam folder, my Google spam, and I'm so pissed. Everything, all the rude stuff, horrible stuff. But every once in a while, I almost click on something. Every once, so I get that piece. Links may not be much safer, but you can generally tell. You can generally tell. You can tell it's a YouTube link or a Huddle link, and not that many viruses that we hear about going through and getting caught by that. So safety is part of it. Speed and efficiency is another part of it. Look, my internet isn't always the greatest, and even the last school I was at, it wasn't the greatest. I might have to sit there 3 minutes to wait for video download. Well, in that 3 minutes, I could have evaluated your video, and I could have decided and been moving on with my day. So I'm going to sit here and go like this and wait, and then maybe I remember, maybe I don't. Look, 5 people have come to my office, to my ADs calling me, and I'm waiting for your video to download. Don't stop sending MP4 format. Stop it. Don't, it's not realistic. It's so easy with YouTube. Create your own YouTube channel. You can keep your current video pinned to the top, the current highlight, and then have your full matches there. Then if a coach clicks on your highlight video and he likes it, he can sit there and click right in front of him, click on a full match. And do it, make the title interesting. ECNL championship game, surf cup, semifinals, something's like, okay, well, the level of competition is probably not going to be crap. Certainly worth me clicking on it and spending 5 more minutes. It really is the elevator pitch. It really is that idea because most coaches in the world, in the United States, will give a player 30 seconds. If that's good at 30 seconds, which is that opening scene of the video, they'll give it 3 minutes. If that's good, they'll give you another 15 minutes of watching part of a full match to see what they see. If that's good, they'll invest the next hour, hour and a half. If that's good, then they'll invite you to their exclusive camp, or they'll go, when's your next event? Curious. Well, I'm going to be playing down in Florida at da 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 da, and I'm going to be playing da da. Oh, I'm going to be there. Okay, I'll go see you. I'll go see you. Now you're on their schedule. Now you're in their calendar. Now they know what field you're at. They're going to come see you. They're going to come see you. And if it's crap after 45 minutes, they'll pick up their chair, they'll turn around, they'll watch another game. Or they'll pick up their chair and they'll go to another. Watch them. Watch them coming and going, parents. Stop watching your kid for one game and one tournament. Just watch the coaches. Just study who's doing what they're looking at, how they're doing. You'll see them on their phones. You'll see them texting. It means they're not interested in this game. It means they're trying to figure out what's next in their schedule and their agenda. and they've got, at best, I'm a freak. I go from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. But that's because I like watching soccer. I think some of our coaches, they're exhausted, they're tired, they got other stuff to do. They've got friends to meet, they've got things to do. Um, they're probably going to spend 5, 6 hours a day on the field. Probably, they'll be at the 8 a.m. game by 4 o'clock. They're tired. Uh, Friday, the first games are kind of crappy generally. The second games, players have got the rhythm. They're kind of feeling it. The kind of teams tend to do better. The third game, they're getting tired. Fourth game, they're done. Fifth game, they're exhausted. It's crap soccer. I don't stay around for finals, nor do many of us college coaches. We don't, and we're not going to stay around at 10 o'clock at night freezing our ass off unless you are special. It's cold. We're tired. It's been 13 hours. We've traveled across the country. We're eating crap food out of there. Everybody's, oh, they feed the college coaches. Yeah, you eat what they give you. It's not that good. And it's not, it's hard. It's really hard. And then by the second day, third day, your brain is spinning. You've seen so many games, so many players. You really do have to go to your notes. You really got to look. It all gets confusing. It all starts to look alike. A lot of boring routine soccer mixed in with a couple of good standouts here or there. And I go, again, Eric, I'll stress one more time, depends on the level, depends on the school. Because I don't want people coming back on this going, you're wrong, my kid is at a great school in wherever, Alaska, and they love the coach, and it's a great program, and they found him at this tournament or this event. Yes, those exist. But that doesn't seem to be the schools that most kids are tagging, Erica. When I look at social media and I see these kids going, or parents, it's mostly parents, by the way. We probably should talk about that. Parents, stop running your kids' social media accounts. Stop it. Stop it. More important to you than it is to your kid. I didn't do it for my own son, and I was coaching pro and in college. And I said, if this is important to you, make your own film. Watch your own games. I'll help you. I'll guide you. I'm not saying do it all on your own, but I'm saying just start working. Start working towards what you say is the most important thing in the world to you. Parents, stop doing it for your kids. You're doing them a disservice. Sorry, that was a sidetrack.
Wow. I've never heard that before, and I'm sure that's going to be a very unpopular opinion, but I agree with you.
Be.
I agree with you on that one.
I'll get hate mail on that.
Exactly. I felt my stomach knot when you said it, but I was like, I definitely see his point there. And we might need, guys, we might need to do a part 3 on just that topic on social media parents running accounts.
Become a big deal because I'm getting parents going, when should I start my kid's social media account? When should I do it? What platform should I do? I'm getting those questions now. This is all COVID, post-COVID phenomena. This wasn't going on pre-COVID. People were stuck. People were trying to figure out, how do I get to college coaches? Great idea, social media. Great. But at some point, when 8,000 kids are following Anson Dorrance and they're all tagging Anson Dorrance, you think Anson Dorrance is really responding? Maybe. I don't know. I won't speak for him. I have no idea. All I know is I'm not that. I only have 7,000 followers, and the stuff I get tagged in doesn't get seen. And it's not because I don't want to see it. It just gets buried in my feed. It gets buried in my notifications. It's really hard to keep track of. If I were a big-time college coach, what would that feel like? What would that feel like? When literally 1,000 kids at an event are all emailing the coach at the same time within a week of each other, at least, probably within 3 days of each other. What's today, Erica? Tuesday? I just got notification that schedules just went out for this Girls Academy event. Just went out, only for one game. They can't even tell the college coaches what second and third game they're going to be playing in yet. How is a coach supposed to deal with this? I don't even know. I don't have an answer.
I definitely think we do need to do another episode on the social media noise, because that's another like 2 hours. And I do want to kind of segue that similar topic to my last question, and like when to get started with all this. So we've talked about showcases, ID camps, and video reels and highlight videos. When should soccer players be doing these 3 things?
Uh, well, look, freshman year, if you're not interested in watching your own games, you are limiting your own development. So you should be recording and watching games 13, 14 years old. Go back, watch your performance. How else are you going to analyze and get better? Because what we see in our heads is very rarely what other people are seeing. How we view, because of our own perceptions and our own individual internal biases and our own voices that are going around in our own heads all of the time. The loudest voice you ever will hear in your life is the voice that's going on in your head 24/7. Many people don't even know that they're thinking. That's what's going on, and it's affecting how you see. So going back and looking at the video is a really important piece of the puzzle. I hear player all the time, I'm I'm exhausted. I'm working so hard. And me as a coach are going, yes, but you're running around like a chicken with your head cut off. You're not being productive. There's a difference between hard work and productive work. Uh, so I think players should probably start around 13, 14, recording and watching. Uh, does anybody really care what a 13-year-old looks like? No, not unless they're a Motri. But other than that, unless they're an international phenomenal standout, we're trying to see how late can we wait to know if this teenager is going to be able to compete with 21, 22-year-old women who have hit the weight room for 4 years, who have been paying attention to their bodies for 4 years, who have hundreds of more games of experience. And we're asking we're trying to make a judgment on a 15, 16-year-old to see if they can compete in that environment. Stop it. It's you and I know it's just not logical to say that I can accurately predict this at these young ages. So the answer is it depends. Depends on how good the player really is. If you're a Motri, you should be identified at 13, 14, and you should be on a pathway. If you're not, if you're just a good, solid athlete, soccer player, belong, fit in, but aren't a Motri, then what do? The go time for the top, we're seeing 2023 girls starting to pop off, but it's Pittsburgh and it's Notre Dame and it's Florida State and it's the bigger schools that have been recruiting the bigger players that are now juniors, but they contacted them June 15th after their sophomore year. So which means they saw them in that sophomore run, late freshman, sophomore run. They probably saw them summer going into their sophomore year. They probably followed them in that sophomore year. They probably checked up on them 2 or 3 more times in that sophomore year. Don't think that this player that just committed to Notre Dame today was scouted last week. That's not how it works. It takes time. Like I said, 100 hours. 100 hours. That commitment is probably hour 90 or 70 or 80. It's on the higher end of we did a lot of work on this kid to figure out what this kid was about at the bigger schools, at the bigger levels. Now, players that rank in the 70th to 40th percentile of the kids that are better, that are probably going to play in college, that are going to go to the Division I schools that won 4 or 5 games in a fun conference in a nice area, and mid-level D2 is probably about equivalent to the same player. Mid to higher level D2 is probably equivalent to, and then the better D3s are thrown in there. Except with the exception of the high-end academic ones that require, I don't even want to talk to you unless you've taken your SAT. If I'm at the Harvard, I won't talk to you. What's your SAT score? I haven't taken it. Let me know when you take it. If I'm at Johns Hopkins where it's 1500 or better, 1550, why am I chasing you? Yes, you have a 4.0 GPA, but your first run at your SAT was 1220, 1290, 1300. You're not even close. Let me know when you get to 1500 and let me know and I'll come see you play. Is the answer going through from the little Ivies, the NESCAC, the NUMACs, the Ivy Leagues, the more elite, the Davidsons, the more elite academic schools, the UWashes and the Emorys, and because they have admission standards. So we're trying to figure out, can this kid even get into my school? Can they even afford our school? I know you're a good player. That's not the question. So throwing that aside, taking into the majority of schools in the country, the state schools that exist and the private schools that are smaller, mid-level, it's junior to senior year that stuff is happening. Look, we've got huge Division One schools still asking me about 2022s, and I've got none left, but they're asking. I had 4 more conversations this morning with coaches that on the girls' side that are looking for 2022s. Drexel just called us about one of our boys that they're going to be talking. Good schools. The guys' side's on a different timeline than the girls, though. The guys are still actively trying to wrap up their classes. The girls are now onesies, twosies, picking it off. Uh, One of the messages I took out from a coach today is, yeah, pregnancy involved, not going to work out. Okay, that stuff is going on all around the country, right? Tore her ACL, tore his, got caught in his second violation. We're going to have to get him out of the program. Stuff's homesick, money ran out at home, parents lost jobs. I don't know. All the stuff that's going on in all of our lives are affecting kids, but it's onesies, twosies. It's onesies, twosies that we're missing. That's on the girls' side. That's what's going on right now. That's where we're at. I just need a goalkeeper. I just need a striker. That's it. I'm good for everything else. The guys' side, it's that plus a little more. There's more going on the guys' side, and that will go on continually. So we're talking about senior year kids, and I just named one big level school that we've all probably heard of. That's very good academics and very respectable and good soccer, and that's senior year. So this concept that we need to panic our freshman year is bullshit. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. Is not bleep that if you need to. This concept that we that we need to panic our sophomore year isn't right. It isn't right. Don't panic. Relax. Look, if you're a good player and you're listening to what we're telling you and you're following the right pathways and you're not just randomly writing all of the biggest names in the country, the top 25. I just got a girl who gave me her list. I had a very serious conversation with her yesterday, Erica, and I just got her list, one of my clients, and there's only one D3 school on the list, and it's Johns Hopkins. The rest of them are all D1, and we just had this conversation yesterday that look at these conferences, please. Look at these conferences. They fit you. They fit you. This is what we're looking at from a soccer perspective. Because contrary to popular belief, it can't only be about the academics. Are the academics vital? Yes. Is that the end goal? Yes. But you're talking about playing college soccer. If it was only about the academics, Erica, then you would just say, I can get into Johns Hopkins. I'm going to go to Johns Hopkins. I'll just go to Johns Hopkins. I'll just go to Stanford. I'll just go to UCLA. I'll just get in. But I can't play soccer there. That's fine. It's more than just about it's where can I play soccer, which means you have to target the right schools that you can actually play soccer at. Because I will tell you, it's a miserable, horrible life when you're looking on Instagram and your friends are traveling and you're alone in your dorm room. You've been left home. You're not on the travel roster because you're 2 years away from being able to impact this squad. That is a lonely 2 years if you haven't picked the right school. It's exciting that you're wearing the gear. It's exciting you're getting to train with them. You're probably getting better just getting to train with these better players. But I need all of your players to imagine sitting alone in their dorm room Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, looking at Instagram where your friends are posting their victories, their dinners, their little beach outing on a Saturday, their little downtime, smiling, laughing, having fun, and you're alone. What's that feel like?
That's some tough love. And I think many people needed to hear that. And I really appreciate you being so honest and just transparent about the whole process and just breaking down the numbers and just really letting everyone know what it takes and these pieces to really get seen and when. And I think we should definitely do another episode. So if you guys made it this far, please like the video if you want us to do a part 3 on social media. I'm sure Don will want to be back and come back with even more fire. He comes with fire every single time, but this has just been an amazing conversation. And Don, definitely appreciate you coming back. And I'm going to link all of your Twitter handles, Instagram, your website in the caption below. So everyone make sure you check that out. And Don, where are you hanging out the most? Is it Twitter?
Yeah, Twitter's kind of where I live at moment by moment because I treat it like I realized the other day I'm treating it like a diary.
Mm.
It's real life stuff that's happening right now. If I put something on Twitter, it's because it actually happened, and I just generically generalize it not to embarrass anybody. The only person that'll be embarrassed is the one person that I'm talking about that reads it, but nobody knows who they are. If it's embarrassing or it's encouraging, and I do want to leave with one bit of encouragement because I feel like this was a little depressing podcast, honestly. Um, because it was a lot of reality check. But the good news is, look, there is a school for most of you that want to play. But my favorite quote lately is from the Rolling Stones song, and it goes, "You can't always get what you want, but if you try, you can get what you need." So what do we need? We need to play soccer. If we love it, we can't give it up yet. We need our education. We need it to be at a fair price. We need to not pay Lamborghini prices for a Volkswagen education bachelor's degree. We need it to be reasonable, and we need it to be somewhere that we will enjoy the surroundings around us, whether or not we, are playing soccer or not. We're just going to enjoy the school, enjoy the surroundings. We need to be happy. We need to be content. That is exists in every state of the nation except Alaska. It's the only state that doesn't have soccer. Uh, it exists at all levels. It exists in different conferences. It exists, but you might have to give up the fact that mom and dad might not be able to see you play every weekend. You might have to sacrifice. You might have to move away from home. That might be the sacrifice, or it might be a little more money than you wanted to spend, but it's well worth it. It's a fair investment. It's a fair investment in my future. You might even have to go, well, if I got my bachelor's degree in this, I could always switch to my master's degree being in what I originally wanted to do. This is really close. I need to sacrifice just a little bit here, but I can see the pathway that I can do an end run. I can get around it on the back end. There's a school for almost any kid in this country. There's just not enough players that are willing to make those sacrifices. They want what they want, and they will not compromise from what they want. And if it means quitting soccer, it means quitting soccer. So I do think that that's good news for most of our kids, Erica. I do think that there are places, absolutely 100% on the girls' side. The guys' side, you just got to be a little better. You just got to be a little better. You got to be better than what you are because you're competing with a large contingent of very high level international players coming in that are better than you. So go be better than them. Go work out a little harder. Go hit the wall a few times more a week. Go get a few more juggles in. By the way, it's my advice to every player, but guys, better take this to heart. Take it to heart.
That is great news to end on, and I'm sure it will motivate many people. So, guys, thank you again for listening. Don, thank you for being here as always, and we'll see you guys next time.